course, episode 5 today is how to accelerate your progression within sales and recruitment. I'm pretty sure that most people that are going to be tuning in either want to progress further or are managing teams that they want to help progress up the ladder. So I'm thrilled today to be joined by 3 of the UK's most talented and progressive sales leaders. I can say that about you guys, so that's good. And we're going to hear today about their stories and gain insight into how you can also accelerate your progression within the sales and recruitment industry. So before our speakers introduce themselves, we want to make the session, as we always do, interactive. You will see that there is a live Q&A. I'm pretty sure you're probably all zoomed out by now, so you probably know how to use this technology pretty well. But if you don't, there is a Q&A section. Please put your questions in the Q&A. Fire them over, click send, and I'll do my best to answer them either during or we'll keep a little bit of time towards the end of the session to try and get through them. So please interact. We want to make this as value as possible for everyone tuning in. So that's the introduction. In terms of our guests, I'm going to come to you, Mr. Jack Finnis, first of all. You are in the top left of my screen. You are the International Sales Development Manager at BeyondTrust. We obviously know you very well, Jack, and seen you progress over the last few years. First question I've got for you to kick things off really is why sales? And give us an overview of your journey and the progression you've seen over the last few years that brings you up to today.
Yeah, sure thing. Afternoon. So why sales? I think it was kind of ingrained in me from a really young age that if I can get paid to communicate with people, that would be, it seems to be like the most enjoyable thing to do on a daily basis. We all communicate on a daily basis, but the fact is, if you can make a living of it, it seems to be the best thing to do. So that was my number one. The second one was progression, right? So what we're talking about today, there's almost no other industry that you can slip into without kind of going through 5 to 7 years of a degree and qualifications left, right, and center that gives you the slingshot nature of progression that sales can, especially with the right organization. It allows you to, the trajectory of the success is not gradual. It can be for some people. However, for the vast majority that put the hard work and the effort in, the outcome means that the progression it's exponential, and it can slingshot your career way faster than expected. And I think the third reason was in terms of coaching and managing, it's being able to kind of impart what I have learned and impart what I see as the most beneficial routes to a team of kind of 13, 14 people to see their success rather than just mine. So it comes to when I look at sales management, that's the overarching message, because it's helping other people emulate your success and have their own journey as well.
Cool.
So, and in terms of my journey, I started as an internal account manager straight out of university with Avecto, who are now part of BeyondTrust. We went through a ton of mergers and acquisitions, but over 5 months, I then became kind of a team lead over a small team of 3 or 4. And then transitioned into a managerial role of just within the UK and France and Germany. And that was about 5 people. So we then went through another acquisition, and we're now called BeyondTrust. However, the scope of my team is now 14 to 15 people. Some in Singapore, some in Dubai, Germany, Paris, London, Manchester. So the scope and responsibility has massively increased, and I've learned a lot. But it's now, leading me to lead that international sales development team with
excellent,
some fantastic people placed by Prime.
Absolutely, good. Thanks for the shout out, Jack. And you were also placed by Prime. Let's not forget that. So
all that time ago.
Had to get that in there. Brilliant. So I think what's that been? 3 progression up the ladder in what, 3 years? Is it?
Yeah. I think so.
Congratulations. Brilliant. Well, welcome to the webinar today. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Josh, same for you really. Why did you get into sales, and insight into your progression so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Afternoon, everyone. So I think quite like a lot of people, I actually kind of fell into it. So I started out as a recruiter a couple of years ago, and yeah, I hadn't had much interaction with sales before it, but immediately I loved it. I love the culture, I love the fast-paced nature of it, and as Jack just said there, I absolutely love the progression. Very quickly you were told that you could get up the ranks, and that was really, really good, as well as obviously all the financial stuff as well that goes alongside it. So it was very, very easy for me to say, right, well, what do I want to do? I want to be in sales, but I also love technology. So I very, very quickly made the jump to SourceBreaker. I had both of the things that I wanted. And it's been amazing ever since. So I started off as a sales executive 3 years ago, and I've gone to senior sales, up to sales manager, and now to head of sales, which is really, really cool. And the company has just grown alongside us as well. So I think I was employee number 6. Now there's about 70 of us, and we've won loads of awards and everything else. So my personal growth has been matched by the business, which has been really, really fun.
Excellent, brilliant, and yeah, SourceBreaker doing amazing things that they have been doing. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of those guys as well. So congratulations on your progression. And then finally, the one and only, I obviously know this gentleman very well. Kyle, why the hell did you get into recruitment, first of all, and give us an insight into your journey?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everyone. So yeah, similar to Josh, really, I fell into recruitment, but I'm actually still here doing recruitment today. But for me, I think the thing that I did really know, similar to what Jack said, is I wanted a career that I could really be in control of how quickly you could progress. I wanted to really have an individual influence on how quickly that could go. So I think that's why I did fall into recruitment. I was consciously looking for a career that could give me that trajectory. And my career today, so I started straight out of university in 2014 as a trainee recruiter, no experience whatsoever. Progressed up to consultant, then through to senior consultant, team leader, sales manager, and now as of January, associate director, so managing the Manchester operation for Prime. Been one hell of a journey.
Absolutely, it's been a great journey to be on with you. So congratulations. I think we worked this out. I'll give credit to Nicole Plinston, my business partner on this one, but I think there was 12 promotions between the 3 of you over the last, within the last 5 years, which is insane. So it's amazing to have the 3 of you with us today. We're going to go into the questions first of all. Kyle, you can kick us off with this one, but the first question that we've got is, how can you become a consistent, high-performing salesperson or recruiter? I think the basis of this now is a lot of people are tuning in that are at that level that probably do want to progress into things like sales management and directorship like yourself. So what advice have you got to become a consistent salesperson?
So I think the first thing for me would be you've got to understand and have that motivation to want to be a high-performing salesperson. Then first of all, unlocking that is really, really important, because some people are just happy being average sometimes. But I think first of all, you've got to understand, why do I want to be a high performer? And then following on from that, I think consistency is key. And one thing that's always helped me throughout my career so far is just having relentless and dedicated focus. And for me, the focus has always been on, what do I need to do to get to the next step? And everything I do within my job has always been based on, is what I'm doing right now going to help me achieve the things I need to progress up the ladder, to get that next promotion, to get to the next step. So I think having that relentless focus is really, really important. I think you've always got to be willing to learn. I think everyone listening here today, and certainly us on the panel, we will have been in a job at some point where we will not have been one of the high performers, whether that's you just started or, gone into a new industry. So I think you've got to be really open to ideas and trying to learn off people who are the current top performers. And then third from that, I think you've just got to be a hard worker. And I think for anyone that wants to be successful in sales and be a high performer consistently, there's going to have to be some sort of sacrifice that you're going to have to make, whether that's working long hours sometimes, that's really putting the graft in. So I think for me, they're probably the 3 key things, but I think unlocking that reason why you want to be a high performer is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the old quote of the hard work will outperform talent when talent doesn't work, along those kind of lines, I think is absolutely the key. You've got to put the graft in the early stages of your career, and I know you've certainly done that, mate. So excellent. Josh, same to you really. How do you become a consistent high performer? Anything you can add?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, yeah, the relentless thing is massively important in every single thing that you do. You just have to be relentless about setting your own targets and just absolutely maxing out in everything, whether it's, you know, calls, getting in contact with people, or just setting yourself up. It's just setting yourself up to be the best. But I think one of the big things about, you know, being consistent is having an effective process. It's something that I learned very quickly, that you can't actually be high performing over a long period of time if you don't have a good process in place. And that can be with everything. Again, it could be getting in contact with people. How do you follow up with people? How do you deliver your service and everything else? You need to have a way of doing that effectively, and you need to figure that out really quickly if you want to do it consistently over a long period of time. And then I guess what folds into that is also managing your time. There's a million and one things you can actually do, but it's about being effective and covering all the bases as well as you can with the right amount of quality. And yeah, just being, again, to reiterate, being relentless and doing that as well. I think they're probably the three most important things for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of people initially when you get into sales probably think, oh, this is pretty easy, right? I'm just going to speak to people and sell things, and you realize that there is a process to follow. If you follow the process and add your own bit and personality into that, then of course it's going to suit you well. Excellent. Thanks, Josh. Jack, anything to add on what the gents have already said?
Yeah, definitely. I think two will slightly echo, and then one's, I think, hopefully a new idea. But the first one is kind of a dedication to perfecting your craft outside of the 8 till 5. It doesn't matter, like that 8 till 5 is important, absolutely, but those people that will progress quickly and take personal development really seriously are those people that put the work in outside of 8 till 5. They'll spend Saturday voluntarily doing that research, or a couple hours in the evening spending time to map out their own journey as well as what the organization has got in store for them. And if you're after a cheesy line, I always say that the diamonds shine after dark, and those people that put in that work will always be rewarded. Sales, recruitment are industries that reward the input with tangible outcome. So I think that's the first thing there, is just a sheer dedication to perfecting your craft. Second one is balancing quantity and quality as sales folks and as sales development. Specifically, the pressure to achieve KPIs on a daily basis is so fundamental. However, you don't want it to decrease the quality of work that you do, right? I see it as always a seesaw of quality and quantity, and never the two can be in the middle. Well, that's what you have to try and do, and it's important that you have to wrap a structure, an organization around how to be kind of pinpoint and sniper focused and know the customer and know your end user. But at the same time, you have to provide that kind of air coverage to make sure that your KPIs are getting met on a daily basis. So it's both that quality and quantity aspect. And then the final one is feedback. Constantly seek feedback, not just from those that are directly aligned to you or that manage you, but for those people that are on the periphery of your career. Get mentors. Seek people that are outside of your usual alignments and sit down with them to see how they did it, what they did to progress, and how you can onboard and take on their feedback to adapt and adopt constructive criticism and constructive feedback. Because if you're not, then you're becoming too kind of tunnel focused without exterior advice.
Yeah. I think to summarize what all three of you said then, I think it's a really important point to summarize on this, because to become a consistent performer in sales is really tough. Month in, month out delivering. And let's not forget, you're never going to hit your target all the time. It's going to be the people that's able to come back and learn from when they don't hit a target and hit the target the following week or following month. But in summary of what you're saying, a few things that have come out with that is, and what I've taken from the three of you, is relentless focus on what you're trying to achieve. It's not a 9 till 5 job. And if you want a 9 till 5 job, then maybe this isn't the right career for you. So you've got to be relentless with your pursuit of progression. You've also mentioned the fact of outside of work progressing. If you want to progress, you're going to have to do more than the person next to you to make sure you're that next person in line, because you're going to go on and beyond and go that extra mile. And ensuring that you follow the process And like Jack said, quality definitely over quantity for me will always be the winner in the end. So really good insight. In terms of a question that's just come in, so thank you to Morag for this one. It's leading off what you've just said. It's around your first year within a sales-based role. What advice would you give to somebody that's at the very start of their career, within their first year, now looking, thinking, you guys have done this, but that could be so far away at the moment. What's your advice for people that are in the first year? If you want to kick us off, Kyle.
Yeah, I think for me, going into that question, I think if I was to give someone advice in the first year, similar to what Jack said, I think I would go out and try and learn and seek advice and feedback from as many people as possible. And it's probably something I could have done a little bit more in my first year as well. So I think if I was to give myself advice for that first year, go out and seek advice, help, guidance of as many people as you possibly can be.
Yeah, cool. Anything you'd add to that, Jack?
Yeah, there's so much, but I think one specific thing is black box thinking. There's a book called Black Box Thinking, and it's teaching you how to learn from your mistakes and learn from your failures, and almost expecting to fail, because it's at those points where you learn the most. I think adopting and accepting that mentality and that attitude where you're going to constantly be accepting of your situation but improve from it is something that's so crucial, because you're like you said, you're never going to hit your target consistently month on month on month. So it's using those low points to then bounce back and go, this is what I've learned. Next time I'm in this situation, I'm gonna execute on these specific points to not come back here.
Excellent. Josh, do you remember what it was like first year? Any advice on how to keep focused?
Yeah, I would say similar to Jack, it's kind of just jumping in and just being willing to fail, because again, that is how you learn and the best way to learn. So just being able to kind of jump in, do things that are maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone, and just learning the best ways to come back and do those things effectively. That would probably be, looking back at myself, a piece of advice I'd give me.
Brilliant. So Josh, my next question, if you want to continue with this one, obviously you've developed into a sales leader now, so you've worked really hard to get there, but what do you think are the key skills needed to be a successful sales leader?
So three of the ones that I picked out, obviously there's loads that you actually do need, but three of the most important ones that I've tried to develop is, one is my patience. As being a salesperson, always looking after yourself, you can be forgiven for kind of expecting people to be as good as you, or to do things at your pace, but you obviously slowly learn that that's not really fair to do. And so for me, learning to be really patient with people and understand how they learn has been a really big skill that I've needed to develop and keep on the forefront. Also alongside that, having perspective as well, looking at it from their point of view, everything's slightly different. It's not just how you see it. That's another thing that I've had to constantly remind myself to do and develop, something that's not come natural to me as well. And I guess as a billing manager, the last thing that I definitely think you should be is leading from the front. I think there's no better way as a billing manager than to get people to see the outcomes than to do it yourself, to never ask someone to do something that you wouldn't do, and to be constantly striving for more. And that all comes from yourself.
Brilliant. We've got a question which I'll come to after we've gone through this, around being able to bill as well as manage, but we'll come to that one after we've come around this question set. Jack, same to you really. What skills are needed to be a successful sales leader?
Yeah, to echo Josh's first point, patience. Patience is so important. Whether you're onboarding, coaching, or getting someone to transition into the next role, it's something that we may have done 15 times before, but it's their first time, right? So you have to be empathetic to that situation and coach to the individual. And that's my second point in terms of a skill, is just a sheer dedication to coaching and development of your team. It's the number one priority as kind of people managers. We want to improve their skill set. We want to enhance their skill set, and it's the biggest impact that we're going to have on them as professionals and personal and people, right? So a sheer dedication to coaching and development and allowing them to progress the same way that we have. And then the third one is a piece of advice I got given a couple of years ago, and it's manage within your borders. And it's so easy for I sit within an organization that's kind of nearly 1,000 people strong. It's so easy to engage with other areas of the business and to get tied down with admin tasks or engaging with other departments, and 2 days go by. We're people managers, and manage within your borders means that we are going to be spending the most and the vast majority of our time with the people we manage. It's not losing focus of that and maintaining a kind of a strict organizational structure to make sure that you're not getting dragged left, right, and center where people that you look after need you.
Excellent. Loving that one. Manage within your borders. Excellent line. Kyle, same to you. Successful sales leader. What are the skills needed?
Yeah, taking bits from what the guys have said, to be fair, really agree with all of their points. I think being empathetic is really, really important. Understanding the individuals in your team, not just their numbers, their KPIs, their metrics, actually understanding the person. I think leading by example, what Josh said, and I think, you've got to really be able to inspire to become a good sales leader. And I think a really good way of doing that is by leading by example. So for example, I'm still speaking to candidates, still doing business development. I think that massively helps. And then I think something that I've done in my team as well that's really helped is just making sure everyone can hold themselves accountable in the team. And I think that really helps you being a really strong sales leader. So to give you an example, we did an exercise where we all sat down and just discussed the behaviours that we would expect each and every single one of us to have, and the behaviours we would expect people not to display and demonstrate. And then we just call people out in the office if we're either doing those behaviours, so we'll give each other praise, or if we're not, or we're doing behaviours that we shouldn't be displaying, then we'll call people out on it. And I've heard it in the office so many times, people calling people out going, remember, we want problems, we want solutions, not problems. So I think for me, being empathetic, being able to inspire me by example, and just making sure everyone knows their role and can be held accountable to it.
Excellent. So I think what's coming out kind of loud and clear there is be patient, lead from the front, be accountable, and like Jack said there, manage within your borders. I think patience is the key thing, certainly, that's come out of that. We can all get carried away quite easily. Question that's come in, and it's a tough one, so I'm going to throw it at you, but I love it. It's when have you failed, and what have you done to turn it around over the last few years? I'm not sure who to come to first, because I think you're on the spot with this. So, Josh, sorry, I'll come to you first with that one. Tough one.
Yeah, I think when I first started in sales, I was very gung-ho, and I really didn't have an effective process. And I think it became very clear that it was biting me in just not very well, to be honest with you. So it was very clear that I was doing one thing and not doing everything. And so it took me a long time to figure out that instead of just focusing on maybe calls or whatever it was, I needed to understand what's the most effective way of doing this job. And over time, I had lots of failures, missed lots of opportunities, and slowly built in a process that meant that I could actually capitalize on everything that was coming in and effectively manage everything properly. But it was a massive steep learning curve because it wasn't something that I was naturally, good at. I'm not a process-driven person outside of this. So it was a big change, and it was a lot of failure to get to a place where I thought I had an effective process. I'd say that would be the biggest one.
What about yourself, Jack?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I've got to rewind maybe 9 months or so, where, because my team is quite widespread with people in Singapore and Dubai and other countries, it's quite easy for you to not put as much effort and dedication into coaching and making sure that they're staying on track if they're a self-starter. So I think I look at that situation where I failed. I may have not paid enough attention or brought them in for enough kind of teamwork and camaraderie, where I'd let them down potentially to say, okay, well, I haven't done enough for them. So I think how I resolved that was by making sure that I could put in kind of micro coaching moments where instead of bombarding them with one coaching moment per week, it would be short and sharp, where there would be 3 or 4 moments of 15 minutes alongside a one-to-one every week, and then bring them into the competitions that we run to make sure that we're doing it in a different time frame. or kind of adjusting the metrics of a competition to bring them in. I think that's definitely a learning point for me, and it was definitely a learning point for them as well. But we adjusted and actually made some significant improvements in their own career trajectory, and also how motivated and encompassed they were within the team.
Cool. Kyle, when have you failed and what did you do about it?
Yeah, just to make it clear, failed a lot as well. I think one of the guys mentioned that early on. I think failure is really, really important, and learning from your mistakes. I think a time I can remember specifically when I failed, probably about 3 years ago. Blanked for 2 months, no placements, no new clients brought on, completely blanked. Worst performance I've had in my career at Prime. How I overcame it was just kind of reflected. My 9 months previous to that had been really strong. We'd hit target consistently. I hadn't just turned bad overnight. So going back to the first question we asked, was I just reflected, really realigned my focus. I think, right, the things I've been doing for the last 2 months, have I been procrastinating? Have they been the right things to get me to where I need to be? Realign my focus, and then the next month and from there on in was really successful.
Cool, good. So I think the message there to answer the question is failure is not a bad thing, as long as you learn from it and put the practices in to make sure it doesn't happen the next time around. So next question I've got for you, and again, Kyle, you can continue with this one. What are you doing now to progress your career, or what can people be doing now, even though there's a crisis out there, which I'm sure we're all aware of, unfortunately, but what can we be doing now to progress up the ladder still?
I think this kind of falls into 2 categories. So there are people out there who quite rightly so are still selling and still in their sales jobs. And I think really the focus, what we mentioned at the beginning, that's still the same. It's just, what do I need to do to achieve my targets? What do I need to do to get up to the next stage of the ladder? So that goal hasn't changed. It's just what you need to do given the current circumstances might have changed. So whether that be selling into different verticals, targeting a different type of customer, they're probably the things that you need to look at now to make sure you can still continue with your progression. But the end goal and the targets, they've not changed just because what's going on is going on. And I think the other category then is probably people that are in a position where they can't sell at the moment, maybe on furlough or whatever it may be. But I want to make it clear there are still things that those people can be doing to make sure their progression is accelerated. There are things that you can be doing now that will make sure when you do get back into the office and start selling again, you're able to move up the ladder quicker than if you didn't do these things. And that could just be making sure you're researching your markets, really mapping out the market, building your network on LinkedIn, obviously not messaging people if you're on furlough, but building that presence so that when you do come back, you're going to hit the ground running and be in a much stronger position to progress your career and faster.
Right. Josh, what can people do now to still progress?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what Carl's just said there. There are 2 categories now, isn't there, where one part is people can still sell. And I think one of the best things that people can be doing in this marketplace to help them progress is kind of understand, especially from their client perspective, what they need, what they're going through. Because if you can understand your clients better, you can perhaps formulate different ways of dealing with them. You can put new products onto the market with flexibility, and it will show a bit of nous, and it will also help you progress, still sell, and everything else. And I do think it comes from, actually speaking with your clients and understanding, what are the first things they're looking to get rid of, what are the things they're cutting back on, where are they struggling, because it gives you a better idea of how to approach the market and actually still progress, as opposed to maybe just doing the same stuff that you were doing previous to this. And then the second one is, people on furlough, exactly what Cal just said there. You can still, read tons of books. I've set my guys who are on a similar thing, to read a lot. Specific books that I've recommended are things like Never Split the Difference, Snap Selling. And then there's also things like training webinars as well. So things like this and any other resources they can use to keep themselves moving and keep that momentum is critical right now. It's not a time just to sit on the back burner.
Yeah, excellent. And finally yourself, Jack, what can we be doing now to still progress in this crisis?
Yeah, I think regardless of kind of category, I think innovation is one of the most important things, because if you're still selling, you're selling in a very different way. And if you're not, then now's the time to take a step back and take stock of potentially what were some choke points within the department or even within your specific role when everything was kind of as normal. So for those that are selling but still selling in a different way, it's whether you're adhering to a different sales methodology, whether you're being far more personal and empathetic, or whether you're just taking more time to engage with your customer basis, right? That's crucial that you don't just carry on as normal, because nothing right now is as normal. And then for those that are wanting to innovate yet kind of on furlough, I think something that I've been able to do, even though I'm in the very fortunate position where we're busier than ever as a cybersecurity company, is still take a step back and take stock and build a new version of an incentive platform for the people, the team that we manage, and actually build a concept like a sales academy, which we're going to be releasing throughout BeyondTrust very shortly. So I think it's a chance to prepare for the inevitability of things going back to normal, so that you're not kind of just creeping back to it. When it does start, you hit the ground running. Yeah. Because we've already we've lost time. But let's make sure that we're prepared to just accelerate as quickly as possible the moment that we're kind of set free.
Absolutely. I think, again, from what you're saying, if you are working, then you need to adapt your approach. Obviously, we spoke about this on a previous webinar. We shouldn't be apologetic for still selling. There's still people out there looking to buy your product and service. You might just have to widen the net and go over different verticals, like Kyle said, or different locations to get the same opportunities. And development is key. If you're there at the moment, then you should be motivated to develop, to learn, so that when you do get back into work, you're going to hit the ground running and make up, I think, like what Jack was saying, for the lost time and be one step ahead of the game. In terms of next question, it's more in line with, I suppose, how you've done it, really. So really insight in, if there's people out there that want to progress quickly up that sales ladder, what can they do? What should they be doing? And what did you do, I suppose, to make it happen? So again, if you want to kick us off with this one, Josh, how can you progress up the sales ladder as quickly as possible?
Yeah, so the first thing you need to do is understand exactly what you actually need to do. Something that you need to sit down with your sales director or your hiring manager, or whatever it is, and actually set out what is needed at every single stage, so you know what is expected, and then you can build kind of targets and everything in line with that. And then that is the next stage. I think once you know exactly what you need to do, you need to set yourself targets with everything and become extremely target orientated, not just in terms of the stuff that you're billing, but every activity that you do to be target driven, and then have it all align with the end goal, and have short term, medium, and everything else in between, to make sure that you know exactly what you need to do at every stage. Outside of the target stuff, I'd say you want to be able to bring new stuff to the table. So in our business, we look for innovative stuff, and people who innovate are, that's how they progress, as well as the financial stuff and the target stuff. So bringing new ideas to the table, going beyond and trying to find new products, new ways to sell is key for us. And then also, I'd say, wanting to take on more responsibility. That's a key sign that somebody's ready to progress, somebody wants to go above and beyond, and show that they're willing to take that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going beyond is exactly the way to do it. I think it's been mentioned a few times now. You've got to work harder, you've got to work longer, but at the same time, you've got to go beyond, bring new ideas to the table, and show and express how much you want that progression. Massively important. I couldn't agree more. Jack, what can people do to get up that sales ladder as quickly as possible?
Good question. I'm not going to echo back the hard work and the targets and the execution. I think that it's been made more than obvious by Josh and Kyle. What I will say is two things. One of my biggest challenges right now is that people will expect something without much substance to back it up, right? So if you're looking to climb that sales ladder as quickly as possible, make it known to those that have that impact or will have that impact on your career, but don't expect it. Because when people know it and you present it to them in the right way to say, hey, these are my personal goals, I really want to get here, I want your help. But if you don't expect it, that's when you will receive the most positive feedback and the most engagement from those guys. To expect it comes across it just comes across in potentially a righteous manner, which maybe isn't received in the best way possible. So it's letting people know what you want, but in the right way. And the other thing is a mentality shift. So there's something that I tell my team, and it's something called finite versus infinite theory, where I know earlier it was mentioned, like, you've got to be the best of those around you, and it's completely correct. However, it's also bringing your best self to work every single day, right? So there's a finite theory that says there are rules to the game, and there is a winner and a loser. Okay, which means you compete directly with those other 10 people in your team. There is only one winner. However, the infinite game is the game that you play with yourself to consistently develop your own attributes and your own skills. And that game you can never lose. There are no rules to it. There is no end. There is no winner, other than the fact that you consistently develop. And if you take the idea that you may have come fourth on that leaderboard this month, but guess what? You learned the most, and you're ready to execute next month. And because the things that you've done to take stock and learn outside of that are the most important things that you've actually done. So it's not getting kind of bogged down in the fact that, oh, I put less meetings in the diary than my colleague, or, you know what, I haven't got that number one incentive as of yet. If you take that self-development mindset and that infinite game theory, you are always going to progress in the way that you want to, and therefore that's going to massively help you step up in terms of that sales ladder.
Yeah, cool. I think looking at that two ways is, firstly, have you sold more than the person next to you? And if you haven't, or even if you have you also developed more than the person next to you? Because fundamentally, longer term, that's going to be the key to the consistency that you guys have mentioned. Kyle, what can you add to that?
Not too much, to be fair. The guys have said everything I completely agree with. I think the one thing that I would add, and this is probably more aimed at those who are looking to get into sales for the first time. So I know we've had a couple of questions from Rachel and Daniel, so it might be relevant for people like you, but your career it's a partnership. It's a two-way thing. So you're going to work hard, you're going to give your absolute everything to make sure you can progress your career. I think you need to also make sure that business can offer you the progression you're looking for. I think it's really important that it is a two-way thing. You're going to work hard, and you have to work hard, but you're going to make sure that's going to be reciprocated on the other side as well. That's all I would add.
Just while we're touching on that, question that's come in from Daniel is, what's your best advice to succeed in lead generation when starting out in sales? You touched a little bit on that, Kyle, but if you want to kind of expand on that a little bit for Daniel.
Yeah, in terms of my big tip for succeeding with lead generation is we've mentioned the word relentless quite a lot. So I think you've got to be relentless with it. Just stick at it. It's not easy, but you've just got to keep on going, even no matter how hard it can be. I think that's the important thing, and I think the thing that's helped me throughout my career as well with lead gen and prospecting or whatever is being quite innovative. So being able to sniff out and spot out potential leads where other people's aren't, just through asking effective questions and doing your research prior. So they'd probably be my main tips for that.
The question from Rachel, Josh, if you wouldn't mind picking this one up, it's, what advice would you give to someone that's meeting the sales team for the first time during the final stage of the interview process? So particularly someone like a fresh graduate, someone going into sales for the first time, what can they do to give the best impression to themselves and their team?
Good question. I'd probably say ask a lot of questions. I do the same thing with people coming joining our team, and the people that come across the best seem to ask all the questions to try and understand exactly what it means to be part of the team, what's expected of them. Every question from what do you do socially to how is everything done commission wise, to the structure, to what is the day like, and just trying to really understand the day-to-day of the team seems to be really well received when people are speaking to the team and everything else. I would say questioning would be my number one thing that you would have to do effectively to come across as a solid candidate.
Excellent. Great to see so many questions coming in, and now's a good time to go through a few more. Jack, how did you find the transition from salesperson to sales manager / leader?
Yeah, it's a real unique one. I unfortunately didn't have a coach to kind of coach me about what's required in a management and coaching and leadership role. So it was something that I had to very much kind of do myself and expand my network to gain advice. I think the most important thing is to remove your personal interest from it and put the personal interest in the people that you're managing. Number one, how can you gain their respect? Because if you've gone from working in a team where you're their peer and colleague, you've then gone up to managing them to say, well, this is an odd and unique situation. So it's about how to gain their respect and how to build your own brand. I think the best thing to do is just to kind of take a step back, take stock, and get onto their level in a way that you haven't done before. Understand their drivers. What is their anchor? Meaning, i.e., why are they doing this job? Why are they getting up at 6:30 in the morning to commute to come here and do this? Understand their goals, because the moment you demonstrate to them that you're working towards their goals as well, is the moment that they will buy into you. I think that's the most important thing. You have to get those recently kind of those colleagues that are now your line employees to buy into what your goal is, because your overarching goal should be for their greater benefit anyway.
And question, Kyle, how do you keep motivated? That's come in. How do you keep motivated right now, yourself and your team?
Yeah, good question. I think it's kind of links on quite nicely from what Jack just said, really. Before you go into management, your main motivation comes from personal success, hitting your targets. I think the way that I stay motivated now is just flipping that mindset. So my motivation's the same, it's just the targets now are more based on the individuals in my team. So I try not really to focus on my own performance too much, as long as I'm still chipping in and leading by example. In terms of the performance and hitting targets, it's all about the people in my team. And if I can help them achieve them targets, personally, that motivates me. And it motivates me that they do rely on me for that support as well. So I think you just got to flip your mindset a little bit, rather than focusing on personally what you need to achieve, making sure you put all of that energy into your team and helping them achieve your targets as well.
Cool. So the final thing I would like from you then, before I go for a few others, is if there's one thing, one snippet that you can give, just let's keep it short and punchy. What's the one thing that people should be doing now to progress? Just one thing. Kyle, kick us off. What's your one thing?
Relentless focus.
Like it. I'm never going to forget that saying after today. I like it. Josh?
Process, determined process.
And finally, Jack?
Structure and resilience.
Okay, so you've heard it there. 3 people that have progressed rapidly within the sales and recruitment industries. Relentless focus. What was the process of yours, Jack? I've written it down. I can't read my own writing.
Josh, you were process, weren't you?
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, no, mine was determined process.
Determined process. Excellent. And yours, Kyle?
Dedicated focus.
There we go. So you heard it there. That's what we should be doing if we want to progress. Really appreciate, guys, your time. We have come up to our 45 minutes, so I want to try and keep it bang on time. Thank you, obviously, for your attendance. If you've liked listening into this today and found it valuable, please do give us a shout out on LinkedIn. We're doing this webinar series for free, all in line with trying to add value to recruiters and salespeople across the UK. So please give us a shout out on LinkedIn for that. If you're interested in the next webinar, it's going to be another awesome one. It's a training-based webinar next week. It's back at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and it's all around the art of negotiation. It's going to be a training webinar with Nicole Princeton and myself. And it's a huge part. Negotiation is a huge part, I'm sure you'll agree, of sales. You have to be a strong negotiator. It's also the best way to get quick progression, because the higher the value of your deals, obviously the quicker you're going to meet your targets and progress. So if you want to master the core fundamentals of negotiation, then please come and join us Thursday next week at 11. You'll see it on the Prime LinkedIn and also in the follow-up email, which will come out tomorrow. Finally, a really big thank you, Jack, Josh, and Kyle. Really appreciate you guys giving your time to be able to add insight to people across the UK. So thank you so much. It's been brilliant, each and every one of you. And most of all, thank you for everybody that has listened in. Keep safe, keep well, and keep changing the perception of sales. Cheers, everyone. See you next week.